Hey, Indiana John. Can I get an audio check? Check, check, check. Hey, guys. Welcome aboard on Instagram. So I'm doing something a little weird today. How's the audio, Indiana John? Mr. Blodgett, welcome aboard. I've got garage door openers growing out of my head. Thank you, Indiana John. Hey, Octane, how are you? Happy Sunday. So, I didn't announce this or anything, but I've got the stream on YouTube and Facebook simultaneously. I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. So we'll see what happens if anybody even pays attention. James Howe, welcome aboard. Happy Sunday to you, sir. So I really struggled with if I was going to be productive today, and I decided I was going to be productive today. So I've already started making PFG stones. We've got 4-inch minis in the works, and I'm going to make 4-inch minis, 4-inch regulars, and 6-inch today. Not a lot, but enough. Hey, Chris, welcome aboard. Nice to see Vermont represented. We should take attendance. We should see which localities are all represented. I hope everybody's having a good Sunday. And I know everybody in these great states united are having a 3-day weekend. Are the 4-inch minis thinner? See website. That's a cheap way out. They're a little thinner. Yeah, they're narrower significantly. Indiana John, New Hampshire. It is a nice day on the East Coast. It is beautiful, sunny. Oregon's checking in. Mr. Blodgett is in Oregon. I went out today. The beauty of a CNC machine, right? While my cycle was running on the CNC machine, I ran outside and I managed to paint a pair of railings in the front of the house, which gets me several honeydew points, which makes me very happy. Plus, I got stones started, so hey, it's a good day. My kiddos were cooking up a storm for breakfast today, and I just stayed away, which was kind of cool. I stayed away except for the part with, the billowing smoke. I kind of stepped in a little bit, but that was fun to see. If anybody is home, is sitting at their seat of power and is bored, you can go find me on YouTube and tell me if this thing is working. My Facebook is not public. I don't think it's public for the video, but my YouTube video should be public, and it's the same username, Spencer_Webb_UH, I think. Let's see if that's right. Well, anyway, you'll find me. Or the eating part. So, welcome aboard. So, if you're not in the United States, today, this weekend is called, Monday, officially, is called Memorial Day, where we remember our defenders of freedom who've been lost in battle. And generally, we call this 3-day weekend. Hey, thanks, MVO Engineering. Did I get that right? So let me finish my explanation for our friends abroad. So this is called Memorial Day weekend. So we get Monday off, so it's a 3-day weekend. Sometimes people take Friday off. And there are various activities where people remember the fallen, but there's also a lot of eating that happens. Barbecues and outside activities, because it's pretty often a glorious part of the year. And it is here in the great New Hampshire. It's beautiful. It's sunny. It actually was a little too warm So I wouldn't say too warm. Scratch that. It was a little warm, but I was painting, and I noticed that it was a little warm for paint, especially black paint. So it's really nice out, really super nice out. So for me to be in the shop is kind of wacky. Yard sales, yes, James, absolutely. There are yard sales everywhere. Yeah, it's a crazy weekend. It's a fun weekend, but we don't forget why we're here. Freedom is not free. So, yeah, here we are. So I've got PFG Stones going. I may make a little more progress on electricals, but basically I'm taking it kind of easy today, but I'm happy to make some progress. It's raining today and yesterday and tomorrow. Really, in Oregon, it's raining. I'm stunned. I'm shocked even. I don't even know what to say. By the way, I have not forgotten our project for your valve seats. I was actually thinking about it some more. I'm still debating between a stone solution and a custom lap-ish cutter, flat cutter. Still thinking about it, but we're going to do something fun. So I didn't prepare anything today. I'll tell you a couple of funny stories. This morning I was doing what everybody was doing this morning, scrolling through Instagram and the other social medias, and I saw a post from from Adam Booth, who I think the world of, and he was doing some cooking, and apparently Abby was behind the camera, and he was showing a custard he was making. I guess they were making homemade ice cream, because I think for that particular thing I didn't have the sound on, and he said something about this, thinking that his custard was sexy. This was in text, so I started laughing. I posted a comment. I played bass for Sexy Custard back in the '80s, and he private messaged me, and I'm not sure he's been exposed to my humor yet, so he's in for a treat. Hey, Silos Garage. And Abraham. Yes, Paul, welcome aboard. I should make it like, there should be a standard thing where when you check in, you give your state or country of origin. It's just because it's fun. So, let's see. I don't have tons of stuff going on this week. I did some interesting machining. It wasn't interesting at all, but a friend of mine brought over some trim work for a stove that he was putting in the house, and it had to be adjusted in size. So we ended up doing that on the Bridgeport because it was very long and just needed a side trimmed. And it was kind of an interesting exercise in clamping, because I had to get this long thing clamped, but I had to be able to get to the side, the full side, and it had a piece of double-sided adhesive on it, right? So it didn't have a good flat to land on because it had the adhesive. The other side was the finished side, so we had a piece of blue tape on it to protect it. It was like a little puzzle for how to get that done. And the biggest trouble was I had it in my head that we were going to use the can't twist clamps. I don't have one at arm's length, but we ended up using the parallel toolmaker clamps, and I learned a very interesting lesson. Hey, the manual machinist, this is right up your alley. I'm going to grab 2 clamps to talk about this. Talk amongst yourselves. That's one. I'm back. Did I miss anything? You stood it on edge. Yeah, that was an option, was to stand it on edge. So my idea was to take this bar. I had a bar of, in fact, It's not like this bar. This is the bar. This is just square steel tubing. Tuck, you're okay. And so I clamped this guy up, and I put a couple of, at the ends, show an end, at the ends I put a couple of machinist clamps just with a little tension so this thing wouldn't flap around. And then the question is, how do you clamp the things down to the, down to the bar? So that my first go-to clamp in the shop are these can't twist clamps, which I love. I have them in sizes ranging from the teeny weeny ones up to the big ones. Not a lot of them, but a couple of them. So I use them. I use them all over the place. And here's the problem: if we're trying to. We had very little. Let me show you the cross section of this thing. Does this show the problem? I can't. We had a clamp right close to where we were milling because it just. Oh, Bridgeport's surface grinder with sanding belts. Yeah, that's another way to do it. This was not rocket science. So that's what the clamps look like. So if you want to clamp to the very edgy edge, that's not where it's supported. It's supported in the middle of this block. So if I supported it where it needed to be supported, then I couldn't get to the edge because I had all this other stuff out here. So this was the wrong geometry for the clamp, right? So then light dawns on Marblehead. I have a bunch of these. Now this is actually not the size I used. I have some that are bigger. And it was a kind of an irony. I was watching YouTube when I was chilling out, and I noted that Blondie Hacks did a thing where she talked about having made these a while ago, and that she didn't like some of the design decisions. But these are actually Starrett. I have some Starretts and I have some Brown and Sharps, but you can get your clamping force right to the nose, right to the very edge of these things by having these be, I'm going to exaggerate here, be not parallel, right? And now your clamping is right at the hairy edge, and that's exactly what I needed. So I ended up fishing out 4 of the big guys, which I have in the drawer there. I just grabbed a small one, and it was magnificent. So the takeaway lesson that I had from that little hay guy or hay man project, as we call it, was that you can get your clamp action right to that edge, which means your tool is coming in to work on the part can get right up to where it's clamping. Okay, that was my lesson for the day. I'll make these look about the same size. They're not. Between the so-called toolmaker's clamp. What do you guys call these? I call it a toolmaker's clamp or a parallel clamp, and the cant twist. Now the cant twist for a billion other reasons is awesome, but it was just not the right tool. This was the right tool. So that was a cool lesson. And yeah, Indiana John, you are absolutely correct. These are very makeable. There's not. I mean, I could take this away now and hide it, and you can go off and make a drawing and go build this thing. It's not complicated. But this is a right-hand thread. I think are they both right-hand? Yeah, on this one, they're both right-hand threads. This one is just a pusher that goes into a blind hole here. And the other guy is supposed to be captured. This one lost its clamp, but there's usually a little clampy dookus that screws into that hole that keeps this guy in place. But otherwise, there you go. That's it. And you could also modify them. This one was owned by Mr. McLallen, D. McLallen. I don't remember when I got this one, but I kind of like having, old machinist names on my stuff. And you'll see a lot of that if you steal tools. Just saying. So nobody cares about me on YouTube or Facebook. So it's a nice experiment, but we may or may not do it again. I think maybe next week I'll make a big deal. I specifically want to see how the YouTube one works. I sure don't like the video on it, but we'll see. Anyway, so that was a little experiment or experience in the shop this week, and that was a Heyman job. I had a couple of little things I had to do for clients. So, you know, I work upstairs also, and the guy upstairs had to test a consumer product that the guy upstairs designed an antenna for, and in order to do that, we need to sneak a feed line into the product to get to a certain spot to make measurements. So that means I have a plastic case, and I've got to make clearance in the plastic case so that I could take a cable, it's a rigid cable, out of the plastic case and go to the instrumentation, and I could do my measurements, so that the measurements include the presence of the plastic case and all the other bits and pieces. You kind of sneak a feed line in there. So that always ends up coming down here and making some cutouts in the plastic or sometimes metal to make clearance, and that was another thing that happened today, and that was on the Bridgeport. The Bridgeport was doing yeoman service this week. Indiana John says, I don't think I have a single micrometer that doesn't have at least one previous owner's initials on them. I have some with and I have some without, and I have some micrometers. I have a problem. Maybe what we should do is that every week we'll show the micrometer of the week. Should we do that? Okay. We'll do a simple one this week. This is the micrometer of the week for Memorial Day weekend. Today's micrometer is a Starrett number. Come on. 569. It has a department, I think a department number and a serial number engraved on it. And it is a simple thousandths reading. I call this a tube wall micrometer. No mic drops. No, we will not have any mic drops. Oh, really? Yeah, So I am sure I do not have a collection that rivals anybody named W.P. Robertson who collects micrometers. But I do have an unfortunately large number of micrometers because I like them, not because I need them. I think I use about 4 of them. But this is interesting. So this is I call this a tube wall thickness micrometer. So if you have a round, oh, what do you know? That actually might work. You know, sometimes I trip over stuff that I need, and sometimes I can't find any of it. Anyway, so this can go into a pretty small tube and measure the thickness of the wall material, which might be important if you're doing something like, building antennas. Tuck Garage asks, anyone put their own name on old micrometers that they get? Do you scratch out the old name? So I would never put my name on a micrometer, mostly because the shop that I'm in is my shop, and there's nobody else here borrowing tools. So I've personally never scratched my name on a tool. I do have not bad. Chris, the pragmatic machinist, says, I used to play bass for tube thickness. Okay, we'll allow that. That's going to give you a B+ on that one. I do have around here a pair of long nose pliers from my dad, and he had a little symbol, and there's a little teeny symbol with his initials, and I prize that. Tuck Garage says, I leave the old names on tools, especially one where I found I didn't like the scratched out look. Yeah, if it's there, I leave it. And if it's a brand new tool, I do not scratch on it. That's just me. But so that's the that's the micrometer of the week, also known as the MOW. And we'll do more of these. Hey Bart, welcome aboard. Hey guys, if you're not following Bart Harkema, who just checked in, that's BARTHARKEMA. Bart Harkema. If you're not following him, you need to follow him. I saw some gorgeous artwork this past week, Bart. That wire art was beautiful. Nice job. And then you were doing a chair repair, which, you know, spoke to me. That was awesome. B. Heinrich 700. Welcome aboard. So nobody is testing my YouTube live. So I don't even know if it's working. Yeah, no, that's comes from the heart, Bart. So let me put this one away. So I am in the, I'm at the computer desk here. This is usually the, just so it gives you the lay of the land. This is where the lathe is right there. And in Bay 2, this is where the computer is. Hello. Jones and Shipman envy, yeah. So, oh yeah, that's the other thing, is Bart has a Jones and Shipman grinder that's coming to life and is starting to do useful work, and it's awesome. Very nice. Nice work. I love it when, you know, when a grinder comes together. If I could steal a line. Let's see, we had a little discussion about grinding wheels. There was a lot of grinding wheels this week. So if you, Mike, you just have to watch today. I can't bring you in because it's too confusing. I'll explain later. Yeah. So if you want to test it over on YouTube simultaneously, that might be fun. It might confuse the heck out of you. So Bart was talking about grinding wheels this week because with his Jones and Shipman grinder, he got some weird hubs. Or you bought a brand new hub for the Jones and Shipman, and it was a little strange. So I exchanged some photos. Actually, I think I put them publicly on my feed of the hub that came on the Okamoto grinder, and we talked about that. And then last night, as I was sitting in my comfy chair, I noticed that our good friend Stefan Gottswinter dropped a video, and it was about, in part, there was a little section on grinding wheels that he's using on his new grinder. And he's culling his collection down to the few useful grinding wheels. So we got to see his hubs. And he said the line, I wish he was here. You're not here, are you, Stefan? The YouTube is working, says Chris. Thank you. Thank you. James Howe says, there's a Jones and Shipman 540 for sale in the next town over. I just don't have quite the space for it. Boy, if it's pristine, get rid of the couch. You're having a hard time finding the YouTube. Just search Spencer Webb on YouTube. You'll see my picture in the correct user, and then just go there. I think my YouTube channel that it's on is, it might be on Antennasis. Oh, Tucker found it. Excellent. Welcome aboard. Hang on, let me tell you what it is. Give me a second. Talk amongst yourselves. Nah, if I asked, let me try this. Yeah, the channel name is under my name, and it's Spencer Webb. So maybe somebody else can shed a little more light on it. Bart says the extraction tool only works for very thin wheels, or you have to remove the flange, and we don't like removing the flange. That's a little weird. Oh, Tucker. Hey, see? Thank you. I appreciate it. E.R. Javashist. I don't know how to pronounce your name. I'm sorry, sir. He says, sir, can you tell me that how I work with you? Because I want to doing work with you. Well, I'm not hiring anybody. And I'm in the United States, and I'm suspecting you're not. I don't think there's a way you can work with me, but what you can do is you can do what you're doing, right, and learn a few things, maybe find out who are the good teachers in this community and start learning from them, like I have, and participate. Just participate in the community, and you know, a whole bunch of good things will happen. So that's the best I could tell you. Let's see. So Bart says, I have to balance every time I change the wheel, and I can't dress, balance, dress. The fact that you said dress, balance, dress makes me very proud of you, because that's my philosophy. Yeah, so you got to find a better solution. Is there a name? Indiana John found me. Welcome aboard. Is there a name for that spindle type in the Jones and Shipman? Remember I sent you that drawing? Is it the same taper? Because if it's a fairly standard taper, there's much better hubs out there that work well. Let me, for the non-grinder guys, and even probably for some of the grinder guys. Hey, thanks, Mr. Blodgett. Let me show you. I'm going to show you what we're talking about. He says, I'm a mechanical engineer in India. Awesome, dude. Continue doing good work. I do not think there's a way we can actually work together. Tuck, yeah. Am I going to IMTS this year? You know what? I don't know if I'm ready to go to IMTS. It might not be this year. When is IMTS? Let's start with that. Yeah, send me a drawing of the hubs if you have it. Let me go grab a couple of wheels that will aid in our discussion. Okay, so the wheels that I use, use the pretty bog standard. Roger that, Mr. Blodgett. I'm not going to work on the video quality stuff. I just want it. We'll just roll with it. September. So IMTS is in September. May, June, July, August. I'm going to say a firm maybe on IMTS. That sounds like a lot of fun. I'm going to go with maybe. In fact, where's my piece of paper? I'm going to write it down and take it for homework. That's Chicago, right? Karakuri PGH says, I wonder if it's possible to create an acoustic signature to a specific grinder. You could set with a known perfectly balanced wheel and then dress other wheels in situ to match that without taking the wheel. So it's a cool idea. My gut, thank you. See, I'm getting information now from at least 2 channels. And I think Mike was on this channel. Are you still there, Mike? My knee-jerk reaction to your idea is one of questioning the signal-to-noise ratio, because there's so much noise coming out of that operation that I think, well, I don't think so. What I've done successfully, and one day we'll do this on video. I have an instrument upstairs called a dynamic signal analyzer. It's basically a spectrum analyzer, and an accelerometer. And if I put that on the wheel housing, you can see the vibration from an out of balance wheel. Okay, and the guys that do spindle balancing, they do this all the time. In fact, there's a guy local to me who I had a nice chat with. They do spindles, and they have a 3-axis accelerometer with a magnet on it, and they come and they plop it on there, and they analyze the heck out of the vibrations that this 3-axis accelerometer sees, and they could learn a lot about your spindle. I feel self-conscious saying the word spindle without acknowledging that there are people that are way, 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 way smarter than me about this sort of thing. Yes. So, having said all that, I've put the analyzer on the grinder, and I have looked at the signals coming off of it, and I can see an out of balance wheel. So, as you know, okay, I sell balancing rings that go on the standard Sopko hubs. And now the Sopko hubs have a boss here that I am able to grab onto with my balancing ring. Karakuri says, I'm an idiot with occasional smart ideas. Dude, it's the best kind of idiot. So this is how my balancing ring works. And that is a standard Sopko. This is a Sopko 200. So there's a 0, 100, 0, 200, 0, 300. And they're just for different thicknesses of wheels. The 0, 200 is this one. Anyway, they make a series of them, and my balancing ring works for all of them. I was going somewhere with this. Oh, so I balance all my wheels. So when I had the Brown and Sharp, you may recall the Micromaster, which I had for a while, and it cranked out a lot of good work, lots of good work. But it was pretty noisy. So I was always worried about it. So I had the Spindle Dude. If you want to see that story, by the way, it's on my balancing ring page, rin.gg, like ring, right? Clever. rin.gg. And he put his instrument on my machine, and I was certain he was going to, tell me, oh, well, here's your wheel thing, and you could balance it a little better or something like that. And he looked at the wheel vibration, because that's on that machine was at 3,600 RPM. So an out of balance wheel will show up at 3,600 cycles per second, or 3,600 hertz. So if you looked at the spectrum, there should be a line at 3,600 hertz, which would represent the vibration from the out of balance wheel. And it was invisible. And he told me, he says, your wheel's really in balance. I said, now, I don't have perspective because I never worked in a shop in a big company where they're doing this sort of stuff. So I said to him, well, how does that compare to what you see when you go to a commercial customer? And he says, oh, it's way better. So I'm like, okay, good. So I got some really nice feedback about the results of wheel balancing. But what he could see is he could see bearings and bearing races, and he was able to read the tea leaves, and it was really interesting. So we have a friend of the community who knows a lot about this stuff, and that's Robin Renzetti, because he's spent a lot of time around spindles, and he's making some spindles right now that aren't high speed, but they're, you know. So it was really quite an interesting discovery about what you can see about your bearings. And yes, you can see an out of balance wheel on the screen, and I've done that. So one of the things I want to put on video coming up at some point is we're going to take a wheel, balance it, look at the performance of the wheel from an actual grind, and also from the instrument, looking at that 3600 hertz signal. And then, really simple, just take the balancing ring off, and now run it again. And my prediction is it will be very obvious, and you'll see that the balancing matters. I see that the balancing matters all the time. Karakori says precision spindle design is like black magic to me. Yeah, me too. I wouldn't go so far as black magic, but I think it takes some real talent and understanding of bearings. And I don't, bearings are not my thing, but I think it's understandable. So if you look at this, this is for the guys on Instagram. Sorry, guys on YouTube. I'll get to you in a second. So this wheel required, I put a socket head cap screw on this side for some weight, and then there's 2 set screws, and they've been moved up 1 hole on each side. So that's what was required. And all the other holes are empty. So there's 2 set screws, and then there's the main anchor screw. So this wheel required weight on this side because it was heavy on this side, and this balanced up and trued up nicely. James Howe says, just Googled, looks like Sopko makes hubs for the JNS 540. Not sure if those would help Bart. See, this is how the teamwork works. So why don't you send a link, or just give me the part number. Give me the part number, and we'll make sure that he gets that information. Oh, okay, Bart's on it. He says, thanks, we'll have a look. Awesome. See? So our friend from India, how can you participate? How can you do stuff with us? This is how you can do stuff with us. And in a remarkable coincidence, K.R. Blodgett says, I used to play bass for Anchor Screw. I remember that. Those were heady days. Heady days. Good times. So, this wheel is balanced. You, sir, are not. All right, so grinding wheels. So there's a standard boring Sopko wheel. Oh, I forgot to get 2 more tools. Oh, there's your link in the chat there, Bart. Let me go grab 2 more tools because we were talking about the extractors for the wheels. Hang on. I'm back. Hey, Machinist Guru, welcome aboard. You're never late for this party. Just remember that. Michelle O'Connell. Hi. So just to explain to Michelle, and maybe a random person on YouTube, every week on Sunday, I do an Instagram Live in the Machinist community. And we're doing that right now on this camera. But you're on this camera because you're on Facebook. So you may hear a whole bunch of gobbledygook that you don't understand, or you may dig it. That's what we're doing. And then I've got YouTube over here. It's just an experiment, so hang around if you like. Okay, so again, Sopko hub, Kinetic Precision balancing ring, right? And this is the screw side. Okay, so this guy takes a spanner wrench to tighten it. I'm not going to get into how to mount a hub. I have some video on that at where is it? rin.gg. I think we talk about balancing and putting hubs on. But that's the spanner wrench for that guy. But also, once this is on the machine, so this is the side staring you in the face when it's on the machine. By the way, that the balancing ring is captive between the wheel and the spindle. So if for some ridiculous reason this thing ever comes loose, I've never had one come loose, it's not going flying. It's not going anywhere. Okay. So this is a Sopko extractor. All right, it's just got a bumper in there, screw there, and threads there. So this guy, sitting on the machine, you'd put this on there, and then you'd run this screw in. It would bump up against the spindle, and it would knock it out. So that's the wheel extractor from Sopko. Sopko hub, Sopko wheel extractor. Okay. So that's my standard hub and setup. Now, I go and I buy the Okamoto, and of course it comes with one grinding wheel. So it came with a white wheel, or I should say a formerly white wheel. It's a bog standard, very nice wheel. It's a 46 grit, basically your basic white wheel, and it's also pretty wide, 3/4 inch width, which I could run. So this is an 8-inch wheel, 3/4 inch wide wheel, which on the Okamoto here runs beautifully. This is the one I sent you pictures of. Again, this is the start. This is the side that stares the operator in the face, and it has threads there. And then on this side, what do you know? A 3-weight balancing system. Now I'll tell you a very funny story about this particular hub. When you buy an Okamoto grinder and you get all the manuals and all the documentation, not only do you get all the electrical schematics for the whole system, which has a Fanuc controller, but they give you the drawings for the balancing arbor for this hub, okay, and for everything. So you can make every part you're looking at here. I have the drawings from Okamoto to make this. Isn't that crazy? Okay, so they screwed up on this design too. Okay, so if Mr. Okamoto is listening, I love your grinders. Let Sopko make your hubs. Let me say that again. Let Sopko make your hubs. So they have a spanner wrench here, and then they have also on the same part, they have a couple of flats. You see that? And then on the other side is a smooth cylinder with your balancing weights. And there you can see that very nice taper in there. Now I'm going to ask you a question. How do you tighten this hub? Do you see the problem? I have 2 different ways to turn this ring on those threads to tighten it, and I have 0 ways to clamp onto that side of the hub. Bad design. Incorrect. Okay, so let's go back to the Sopko hub. Let me grab a different Sopko hub. Hang on. Okay, so here's a naked, well-used, well-worn Sopko hub. Left-hand thread, you bozo. Okay. Now, what do you see here? Spanner wrench on one side, pipe wrench. Yes, KT Works says pipe wrench. Clearly, you, sir, are not wrong, but not in this shop. Okay, so spanner here. Look, nothing up my sleeve. spanner there. So guess how many of these I own? 2 of them. So I could put one on one side, one on the other side, and tighten it. Do you see the problem now? Now, when you put the balancing ring on it, it covers up 2 of the holes, which is why I switched for the illustration. But once again, there's Mr. Okamoto's hub that he came with. No way to hold it. So while I truly enjoy this wheel, it's not optimal. I was able to get it tightened up, and of course, did it loosen on me at some point when I was doing stuff? Yeah, that's the problem. You can't get it tight enough because you can't put a wrench on both sides. So the Sopko ones, at least, what I do, so here's my method. I think I showed this in a video on my site. I take one of these spanner wrenches. By the way, this is a Sopko part number also. Okay? If you're curious, a McMaster car, everybody sells these. It's a Sopko number 35135. Okay? And it has a little socket here. And then it's got 2 spanner Ducases. All right? So I take one of these. I put this in my bench vise. I put the wheel on top of it, and I take the second one, and I use it in the horizontal configuration, and I gronk on it. You can't put too much torque on that ring if you're using your hands. You want that tight so it never shifts, because once you put the hub on the wheel, you don't ever want it to shift around, because you lose everything. You lose your true, you lose your balance, and things are bad. That's why I don't like this hub. I love Okamoto, but please go to Sopko for your hubs. We have a question coming in. Nice catch there. The James Howe says, I played bass for Spanner Ducases. I'm giving you an A- on that one, sir. Is there a torque value? All of it. I don't know, but you put a lot of gronk on it. You answered before you even saw the question. I haven't seen the question yet. Hang on. It's worth repeating the question. Chris, the pragmatic machinist, says, how many feet-pounds of Tor-Q do you apply to the hubs? Many. Basically, using this wrench, you could use a. I'll address blotters in a second. If you do what I said, you put one of these guys in the vise, right, and you put your Sopko hub on it, and you're holding your wheel, and you put the spanner on top, without any additional lever arm. You want about 2 kilogronks. Okay, you really just. And you're done. Did you got that? Really tight. So I don't know how much that is. Maybe one day we'll quantify that, but way more than apparently the hub manufacturers think you're going to do. Karakori says, until it explodes. I think you require a grinder to do a proper explosion. Let's see, scanning for questions. So that's how I tighten a wheel, and then it won't move. Now, there were some questions about the blotters. Okay. So you'll see in a is that called T8? Is that 10 to the 8th Newton meters? German tight. Yeah. See, I wish Stefan was here. He can give us the numbers. Yeah, German tight. Okay, I think we answered that question. So if you do have questions, by the way, we have a question queue. If you're on your phone, just in the little doobly-doo down there, just hit the question mark thing, put your question in, and I won't lose it. Blotters are important. Blotters are essentially, you know what a manila envelope feels like a file folder? That's basically the right weight for a blotter. So if you ever lose a blotter, you could make one out of that stuff. Direction of spin helps with a desire of the nut to come free. Left hand, not for confusion. I just woke up, so this is epic. Tight is tight. Compress the blotter. Go team. Okay, so the blotter is like a little bit of cushion to spread out any point loads. So if you have like what is a grinding wheel if it doesn't have a bunch of sharp points? So if you have a sharp point and it's going to see a ground steel plate and you go to gronk it, you're putting an awful lot of pressure on those things. Almost Machining says cereal boxes too. Sure. Actually, would you guys like to see some 30-year-old Norton blotters that somebody gave me? Hold on, this is worth it. I'm going to get a measuring tool. All right, so here's some ancient blotters from Norton, okay? These are basically replacement blotters. I suppose back in the day, you can just buy a pile of these. You'll notice there's no wheel markings on here. It has all sorts of warnings on it. Warning, grinding wheels improperly used are dangerous. Chris, I just cued you. Improperly used. Comply with ANSI B7.1 safety code, blah, 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 blah. Okay, but there it is. If you look at the back of it, that color tells you that it's a cereal box. Oh, so my job here is done, Karakuri-san. Yes, the blotter actually has a purpose. In fact, if you read ancient texts, you'll hear lots of things about the blotter. Do not use a wheel unless there's a blotter. Always check the condition of your blotter. Height. If you have a weak blotter, you should go to the bathroom before grinding. These are all important things to read in the ancient texts. But look at the color of the back. That's just cardboard, people. This is not like it's some, something from the shores of somewhere. So let's measure it. Any guesses on the thickness of this blotter? Put your guesses in the comments. I have a number. I'll allow a minute because I know there's a lot of lag here. Almost Machining says 15. Indiana John says 32. Oakland Jesse says 7. I'll just drink my tea. Mr. Blodgett says 30 thousandths. Bart comes in with 0.6 millimeters. Of course you do. Okay, so first of all, this is a business card that I got, random business card kicking around. For reference, this business card is 13 thousandths. Okay? Business card, 13 thousandths. Okay? 3x5 file card, 8.5 thousandths. Oh, yep, 8.5 thousandths. I have others that are 7 thousandths. Okay, you ready? $17 thousandths. So let me measure the second one. Yep, 17 thousandths. So the Norton blotter is 17 thousandths. It's just cardboard. Okay, and on the hub, you may recall that the center of your wheel is nominally 1 1/4 inches in freedom units. Oh, I didn't give you that in metric, did I? I'm sorry. Point 0.45 millimeters. 0.45 millimeters thickness. So the hub, the center of the hub is nominally 1 1/4 inches, and these guys are they're about 15 to 20 thousandths over. So it's a loose fit, and there you go. James Howe says 0.43 millimeters. Yeah, I think we did that. Did I get that right? Yeah, 0.43 millimeters. So there you go. So the blotter, both sides. Okay. The blotter should be used. Okay. And if you're in the neighborhood of what Norton was doing 25, 30 years ago, you're fine. 17 thousandths, 2 3x5 cards, a piece of heavy cardstock from Staples. All right. So that was interesting. That added something to the discussion. Yes, you need a blotter. Also, you need a washer. So the way the Sopko hubs work, this is a precision ground surface here. There's a relief there, okay? The wheel and its blotter go down on that. And then this guy, there's actually a washer not shown here because it's over there. But there's a washer that goes under this that captures that keyway and doesn't let it turn. And then this guy is a left-hand thread. So as you're tightening this guy, that precision ground surface is sliding on a washer, and the washer is moving in to make the pressure. So the washer is, it's not sliding on the blotter itself. That's the correct setup. I think I've done it on video, and I think it's on my balancing ring product information page. You could find that video. And the guys on YouTube, you should be able to see, I think you should see that video on my channel. Maybe not. Maybe it's unlisted, and you have to go to my website to see it, but it's there. Okay? Cool. Let's have some more questions. We've got 3 minutes left to the top of the hour. Thank you, Mr. T. Sanchez Morales. All right, I'll give it 1 more minute, and if no questions come in, we will wrap this thing. That was fun, and I'll get back to grinding. I have work to do. Question has come in. Indiana John says, any comments on grinding titanium? You're welcome almost. I didn't say you're almost welcome. I said you're welcome almost. I have no experience, this much experience, grinding titanium, so I cannot give you anything there. Karakuri-san says it can be done. And that's all I know, honestly. Do the blotter, the pragmatic machinist Chris says, do the blotters come apart with coolant use? And that's actually very interesting. I've not seen one fail. and I don't see anything super special about these blotters. So far the answer is no. Yeah, I've never seen one fall apart, and you'd kind of expect it to. Yeah, so. Okay, so I'm sorry I cannot comment on titanium. I do have a little bit of titanium on the rack of magical materials, and one of these days I would like to play with it, so I plan on doing that. But if you go to the Norton website and go to the wheel selector and tell them you're grinding titanium, I am certain it will come up with suggestions, and it wouldn't shock me one tiny bit if my favorite 5SG wheel is on there. Very dangerous. Yeah, titanium will burn. Yeah, Indiana John, not only will the blotters dry from centrifugal force, but you're supposed to leave your wheel running for a while with no coolant so they could dry out, because the wheels are also porous. You don't want any coolant in the wheel. So if you have a wheel and you turn it off and it's sitting there on the grinder and you're spraying coolant on it, you could have the coolant gather up in one side of the wheel, and I guessed it correctly, and you could end up with an out of balance condition. So whenever you use coolant on the grinder, always run the wheel for a while when you're all done to make sure that it has spun itself dry before you shut down. Make sure you have your safety squints for grinding titanium, says ONL10. Makes bright white sparks. Hot, bright white sparks. And I have been vindicated. Norton does, in fact, recommend the 5SG. You can grind anything with that thing. And Karakuri-san says, oh yes, it will burn hard. And the winner today is Zagros1345, who came in exactly when we're wrapping it up. Yeah, there's two things you need for grinding titanium: a Class D fire extinguisher and a GoPro. Make sure it's on video. And with that, I'm going to say have a great day, everyone. It's Memorial Day. Remember those who gave it all. All right, guys. Same bat time, same bat channel. We'll see you guys next week. I may turn the camera on later just for a random live as I do work. I did that last week. It was kind of fun while I was doing lathe work. We didn't even talk about the lathe stuff, but maybe next time I'll have some more to talk about. Have an awesome weekend. Take care, guys.